Mad Dog, it's the month of May, which means
Yes.
we are getting close to spring meetings for the league, and the final day of those spring meetings is when they release the kick times for the first 3 ball games of the year. And then in June, we should once again have our kick windows via a TV show. I'm sure Alyssa will host it on the SEC network. So we're in the next 4 or 5 weeks, everybody will be able to start planning funerals and weddings and all those type things that everybody waits on until the football schedule gets out. At least you have an idea. I by the way, I like the kick window thing. I think it's great. I know they'll flex some of them. I would be interested to learn what they learned last year about putting those windows in place, and did it affect television ratings, which in return affect marketing dollars. That's the underbelly of all of this, in case anybody was wondering. So if they learn, if it did, how are they fixing that? Because it does look like the plan is to continue to produce the kick windows, and you know what I mean. So, like, I don't really, because the league, like ABC, for instance, they have 3 time slots that they need to nail. That they need to nail them. It used to be, and we've talked about this ad nauseum. It used to be if you played at night, you were the game outside of the 3:30 CBS game. Like you wanted the night kick, okay, and that's not the case anymore. Now there are still some people out there that, they can't believe we're so good. I can't believe they put us at noon. It didn't matter anymore. Like, it doesn't matter how good, how many times Alabama and Georgia and all these other teams play, and they all play at noon too.
Big picture, you almost want noon now, right? Because that's the big premier game coming right off of the, preview shows.
Well, it's one of the 3.
Yeah.
It's one of the 3. Yeah. I mean, ABC.
And it usually means you're on ABC. That's the thing. Yeah.
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 Generally. Yeah. Generally speaking. I mean, you'll draw ESPN, but I mean, you want ABC, Phil, is not, they're going up against ESPN, but they are ESPN. But what they're really going up against is Fox at noon. And then 3:30 goes up against the Big Ten game now on CBS in that time slot.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fox is now trying to put an afternoon one in there. You got NBC and Notre Dame and what they're doing. You got the CW. I'm just kidding. So they have that to compete with, and then NBC on Fox as well. But NBC has shifted to this nighttime slot, and I'm all for it. Like, I'm all for multiple games at night, especially if I'm not traveling with the football team and I'm home. I like having a bunch of good games on at night, but I also like having a bunch of good games on at noon. And so in this streaming era that we've entered, where everything is basically streaming now, it's still the networks that are producing the true real content that we're after. I mean, they're paying hundreds of millions, billions of dollars to get this stuff. ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox and all that. So I think it's pretty neat. And quite frankly, after the year, if you're a South Carolina fan, I think last year they set the record, and we'll talk more about this later on in the month of May. But last year they set the record for the most ABC games in one season. Well, kind of figured they would anyways, because CBS is gone and the SEC has hitched its wagon to Disney, which is fine. But this year, you're going to have a preseason top 15 team, and you're going to have Lenora Sellers, and that is going to 100% sell. So even if you look at the schedule and you go, well, I don't know. Like, I've got the SEC, I got the league schedule right here. So let's give you an example. For instance, when the Gamecocks play Missouri on September the 20th, well, you've got Auburn, and that game's in Columbia, Missouri. You've got Auburn and Oklahoma that day. That's really the only other I think that is the only other league game. And then you got Florida playing Miami. That game is in Miami. And Miami is, as far as I know, they're still a member of the ACC, right? They haven't hightailed it back to the Big East yet. So, but you've got Lenore Sellers. So you might look at that and think, okay, well, there's not much to compete with in the league. Now, the Auburn Oklahoma game is pretty sexy because Oklahoma's quarterback transferred to Auburn, Jackson Arnold. He's going to play against the Sooners that week, and there's no doubt about it. That's going to be a sexy pick, and you could probably bet your rear end that'll be a 3:30 kick time on ABC. But you'll look at South Carolina and Missouri, that's going to probably get the second slot. All right. So, but what is the second slot? Is it noon or is it night? You know, you see what I'm saying? Like it's not like the old days where it's like, all right, well, they're going to draw, Auburn, Oklahoma, for instance, that probably could draw 3:30 on ABC. So, we're the second biggest game. We're going to be at 7 o'clock on ESPN or now ABC. Well, no, it actually might be at noon, and Florida and Miami kick that night on ABC, or they might. So it's just not as much. It's not like it used to be. You got Vanderbilt and South Carolina in week 3 of the season. Now you got Ole Miss and Arkansas that week. You got Florida and LSU. You got Tennessee and Georgia. There's a bunch of stuff to compare with. But you've also got Lenore Sellers, and they're not going to hide Lenore Sellers. So I'm not saying that they'll put that over, maybe Florida and LSU, because you got Lagway and you've got Garrett Nussmeier in the ball game. But they're not going to hide Lenore Sellers either if they can. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. My point is, I could probably do this every week and just bore everybody to death. But I'm not going to do that. That was boring enough for me. But my point is, you're probably going to see South Carolina get the benefit of the doubt from time to time this year because they have Lenore Sellers. And when you look at the schedule and the fact that they're playing against LSU, they're playing against Oklahoma, they're playing against Alabama, they're playing against Ole Miss, they're playing it. Obviously we know Clemson. There's a bunch of big-time quarterback matchups in there, and even when there isn't a quarterback matchup, you still have Lenore Sellers. Yeah. So that's going to be something sexy. And when they give these kick windows and stuff, I would almost venture a guess that you're probably going to see a few more flexes this year for the Gamecocks than you did before. Just a hunch to make sure that they're getting him in this program where they want him. They sure as hell aren't going to want to get to Saturday, October the 18th. And have the Gamecocks and the Sooners not one of the top matchups if it is, on television. So, but again, you go back and compare it with the fact that they have all these windows to fill and who really knows anymore. So, but we'll get the overreaction to that coming down the road. I just find it interesting. So we turn the month to May and people can start planning when they're going to die and when they're going to get married and have bar mitzvahs and all the other things. So